Hey guys, so I intended on recording this earlier, but my phone kept saying I only could record for a few minutes, so I had to figure out the cache thing again, like clearing the cache. Technology just frustrates me so much, but anyway, but I'm trying to be better about recording more videos and getting more stuff out there, and so I think the last video I made, I had talked about aphantasia, and for those of you who don't know, it's about like being able to form visual images, like pull up visual images in your mind. And I realized within the last year, like I can't do that. And I've talked about that. If you want to go watch the other videos, you can. But anyway, so I think for me, this is where me and my brother had talked too. And he was like, maybe that's why you need to talk things out, because you can't visualize things in your mind. I think that was something that making the video last night and talking about how I try to plan things, so that whenever I get to said event, said time, um, I can kind of guesstimate, I guess, how things are going to go, or I don't know if it's like emotionally prepare, whatever, but I think that's because, like, I'm I have to see it to believe it kind of person. And I think that then if something doesn't happen, like if you plan for something and it doesn't happen, then it's like all of that planning and everything, I had something in my mind and then it didn't happen. So I don't know if it like does something about like all the planning like didn't come to a fruition of something. I didn't see something, live. So it didn't happen or whatever, but that was just a little thought I had. But so I think this has really helped me, like even if it's just like even if nobody watches, I guess. But, even if one person watches something, maybe something that I said helped them or maybe they could relate to it or anything. And that's kind of why I'm doing this. It's kind of like me charting myself and the steps and stuff that I've taken, but also, for anybody else out there that has anything in common, or, that's what I do. I research and look on YouTube and look online for things. And I think it helps me to listen to things because I have a real hard time reading for a long time. And that was one thing too that I remembered. Like I used to read a lot when I was a kid, and even going back to school, that, like I said, I would make note cards and all that, and I'll study until the last minute. And I'm wondering, like, did something like has trauma along the way, or maybe like head injuries that I've had, or something do something to that where I can't hold like everything in my head for a very long time. Like if I go days without doing something, then it's like I have to learn all over again. It's like it doesn't stick there. So I think that talking it out helps me too. So I think that's, a beneficial thing of why I'm doing this too. But anyway, so today, I mean, this has been a thing that I've said for years, but today it really hit me about I've always said that I'm the bridge. And I've even heard people refer to me like that, and I used to love that song. Do you guys remember that song, like Bridge Over Troubled Water? I used to sing that in choir when I was younger, and I loved that song, and I still do love it. It's a beautiful song. And, uh, you know, I really, I loved it because that's the way I really felt. Like, I'm going to be somebody's bridge over troubled water. Like, I would say, even within the job that I had, my job was to catch people in crisis, bring them into services, permanent services, connect them with resources, things like that. So it was like a bridge, for people that might feel like they're drowning in an ocean. And I completely relate to that. I mean, that was one of the reasons I loved the job, was because I know what it's like when I've had moments in my life, I feel like I'm in an ocean drowning, and I made reference in previous videos about this. Like I'm drowning and like looking for an anchor. I'm looking for, a boat to hop in. I'm looking for something because like I can't get myself out of it. And I think I've learned better, like, okay, I need to swim to shore or I need to, get my own boat and have it, just in case, those kind of metaphors. But so I think that's one thing in this journey that I'm on, in this self, I don't know if it's realization, revelations, I don't know what the right word is, but, is realizing like I can't be a bridge all the time. And I had said this to people, about like, I can't be everybody's bridge all the time because, if you use that metaphor and you think about it, then you have to, put reinforcements under a bridge. Like you have to have maintenance on a bridge. You have to, do things to uphold the bridge or the bridge is going to fail after so many, cars going by or whatever. And I think that was one thing, it made me good at it because I know that feeling of feeling like you're drowning, of feeling like, you know, even like valleys, if I have to get across, to this side, I need a bridge, and I'd always said that. But I think that was one thing too with me vocalizing so much and then being able to like see all sides of things. I was the friend who like, if I had friends that were in relationships, like the guy would come talk to me and I'd give him like, okay, because I'd been around guys my whole life. And I always say like my brain, yeah, I would always say like, I think I got a guy's brain. I've got the sense of humor. I've got the, what's the point? Um, the give me something to go do, give me something to go slay and I'll go do it. But I think, then I could give the girl's point of view too because I am a girl. So I became always the bridge for everybody. Friends that were fighting, I'm the mediator. Um, People that, like I said, with my job, people in crisis, but somewhere along the way, I would get lost in the, like, I need a bridge because I'm out here drowning. This bridge is like underwater because so many things have gone by. And so I don't know if other people maybe out there have felt like that. Is it's good to feel needed or wanted for that. And for me, it was like I didn't mind doing that a lot because I can I can put myself in somebody else's shoes and say, oh, well, maybe this happened. When it comes to other people, I could say, well, maybe they were just having a bad day. Well, maybe, did you ever think about it from this person's point of view? I could say, take clients and be like, okay, I can listen to them and come up with something. And then I can be the bridge to tell services or whatever, like, this is what this person needs. And try to connect them in the right ways. But for me, it was like, I guess I was kind of looking for like, is there a bridge out there for me? Is there somebody that could maybe do that for me? Because if not, I'm like this bridge underwater, that if I try to cross my own bridge, or I guess maybe it's like, if you think about that song, it's like, I will lay me down. After a while, I'd be like, okay, I've been laying down. Like my back hurts because I've helped everybody across, things like that. But so I think a part of this journey has been realizing like I can't be a bridge for everybody all the time. I can't be the person who everybody comes to with their stuff. Like, I have to have limitations and I have to take care of myself because I would do the thing where, I'd be like, okay, here's my day and here's how it's planned. But I was under crisis services. So it was like, I have this appointment, but if this person doesn't show up, I'm going to go look for the next person. or somebody else might walk up and I'm going to help them. And it would just become, like I said, where I would work through lunch and not eat. I would, take on to where, I may have helped people all day long with being the bridge, and then would come home and be like, I can't be the bridge at home too. I can't always be the one, always the mediator, always the helping everybody across, because it keeps me sometimes drowning as, the anchor in the ocean. That's like the bridge going across the ocean, that now I'm in the water. Now I need help getting across. And I think for the longest time, it kept some sort of frustration or anger or something in me about, like, where is my anchor? Where is my bridge? Where is, somebody, can that boat stop to help me? Things like that I finally was like, okay, well, maybe I need to roll my bridge up. And I think that's part of this. Like I had stated in a previous video, I had a friend that said, oh, it's like you're on a sabbatical. And yeah, I think it's like a sabbatical. Because, there's that whole saying about, like, you can't walk through water without getting wet. And for the people that I helped, a lot of them feel the same way, like they're drowning in water. And I'd always use metaphors too, because if a person hasn't experienced what you've experienced, then you're going to try to use a metaphor of something that they have experienced or that they do know that you can relate to. I think I did that more with, like, my guy friends. And I don't know if that's something with the male and female brain, or the right side or the left side, whether you're dominant on either side. I don't know. But for guys, I'd be like, what are they into? Are they into a sport? Are they into a hobby? Are they into whatever? Well, then I'm going to use a metaphor for that and use things that can be relatable. But that's where, for me, it was always like, I feel like the bridge, I will lay me down. I will help you over the troubled waters. I will help you through the valleys. I will help you, cross the things. But, I think for some of us, that if that's the way we were raised, like, I very much felt like the mediator a lot of times in my family. It's like, this person doesn't like this person, so they're gonna tell me what they think, and then they're gonna tell me what they think, and this one's mad at this one. And even in friendships, it was like, I'm the person who's saying, well, did you see it from their point of view? Well, what about this point of view? And and sometimes you just get tired of it, where I was like, okay, now I need my own. Now I need somebody to talk me through it. And even in therapists and stuff that I saw, I'm like, sometimes they don't get it, because the way that our health field is, not just mental health, but medical health. But I saw mental health, the way that our mental health field is they've got, like, little checklists, and they're like, oh, you're experiencing this, let me check that box, and this and this. And what they don't realize is, like, sometimes people show up in different circumstances. That's where I told you guys in previous videos, I had listened to a professor on psychology, and he had stated before about, people show up in different self states based on how their environment is. So, and it's all self-reporting. So if you're ignorant to yourself, I can see in my past with things how I was in denial, so you wouldn't even know that you're not telling the whole truth to things. If somebody says, well, are you depressed? And you've lived in a depressive state, you think that's normal. So then you'd be like, nah, this is just normal for me. not realizing like maybe you're depressed. The same thing with anxiety. I felt like a lot of my life, like I've lived, I used to say like I felt like a hamster on a hamster wheel going round and round and round, and just saying like, when does it stop? Can I stop? Because it seems like I'm not going anywhere. It seems like I'm just exhausted going round and round and round and round. And I don't know if that was the, you know, prepare for the worst kind of thing. Um, I had a mother who was very catastrophizing, very, very much like every worst thing in the world's going to happen. And so I think that kept me in the prepare, plan. You've got it just in case. The last video I had said about how I used to carry everything in my purse. I'd be like, well, we need this and this and this just in case. Because, I can remember as a child, like getting caught in snowstorms. There was one we had where we slept in a church for several days and we didn't have any clean clothes because we didn't plan on getting stranded in that town. And even with my own daughters, like I was a single parent for a long time. So my anxiety was through the roof about like, well, what if something happens? There's only me. I think sometimes when everything's just you get a lot of anxiety about, if I forget something, if I don't have something, if I don't, and then that causes like over preparation where you're like preparing for the just in case. Because I'm the person who's like, I'd rather have it just in case than to get to whatever and not have it. If you think about like, if you go shopping, you don't buy like one roll of toilet paper at a time. You don't buy one, thing at a time. You buy stuff in bulk because you're like, I don't want to keep doing this one thing at a time every single day going to the store, or if you hear like, I think people do that during, you know, um, like during the pandemic. Remember when everybody was like buying up all the water and the sanitizer and everything in the beginning? Like there is studies that have been that have shown that people will do stuff like buy a bunch of bread and a bunch of water and stuff if they think like some disaster is going to happen because they're preparing. But I think that anxiety kind of keeps us in a doomsday thinking, catastrophizing. So for me, it was like, oh, I want to prepare some so that I don't get to the point where I don't have whatever. And I think for me, being the bridge with people became the like, is anybody preparing stuff for me? Like, I need a bridge just in case. I need an anchor just in case. I need a life raft. Anybody got a lifesaver out there? And, I'm talking about like that you throw out. But because I became always that person in relationships, and like I said, when I talk about relationships, it's any sort of thing, work, family, home, love interests, friendships, whatever, is it's like I always became the person who, okay, well, talk it out with me. Okay, well, do you ever think about it this way? Well, maybe about this. And, to where eventually I think it just gave me like compassion fatigue for a while and burnout. And that's something I had researched a lot in my job. I would research if I met a client that had a diagnosis and I would look it up. I would still listen to them because a lot of a lot of book knowledge is just based on whatever somebody figured out and wrote up, or the majority. But there's, you can present differently. Just because somebody's behaving in a certain way doesn't mean that they're that fully. That might just be like at that time, and then later on they're different. Because I think trauma and crisis, fear, fear especially, any kind of negative interactions will make people behave in different ways that are maybe out of the ordinary. You know, I'm a very independent, secure person. But when I get fearful, it's like there's this part of me that comes out that is like a scared child. That's like, well, if you walk out, or if if you're not helping me to get out of the water, then I'm just drowning. And I'm just drowning. And I think for the longest time it was like, I'm drowning. Anybody see I'm drowning? Hello, I'm drowning. And I think that was where, like, with my job, I got on burnout, where I'm like, I keep telling you that I'm drowning, guys. I keep telling you I need help. I keep telling you, like, these are the supplies that I need. I need some help out here. And not getting that was, it just felt like I'm gonna drown. So I think that's something that I've figured out, and a lot of it's talking it out. A lot of it's been listening to a lot of things, podcasts, videos, and stuff. Because, like I said, I think maybe that's something with the visualization, like not being able to formulate things, is, I don't know if it has to do with hearing too, is like, when I hear stuff more, I retain it more, and even in live more. But see, my cat's down here and like playing with my leg. I think every video, maybe I should just start it out with, there's going to be an interruption where one of the cats does something, and then I'm going to lose my train of thought. So I apologize to you guys if I'm doing that, because I do that a lot. And then I've had videos where, like, I try to make note cards, but then I think it kind of feels like a lecture, if I'm like looking at a note card. So I have to come up with something, like some sort of fix, because I promise I keep trying to stay on point and trying to finish things, but then when it's like, there's a cat down there, and they're like, trying to get you to pet them by rubbing against your leg and stuff, then it gets distracting for me. It's like whatever the thing is there. And then right now, like, my brain's like, does that just put me in this like high anxious, like, I need to pay attention to everything because, the cat might do something, or what's that noise over there, or what's that flicker over there, or, I don't know if that has something to do with all of it. But so I wanted to make a video tonight about that, being a bridge, because there's a lot of songs too. I was listening to some songs today, and there's a lot of songs that I've added to my playlist that talk about bridges. And I've seen videos that talk about bridges, and I've always just said, I mean, before any of that, I was like, yeah, that's how I feel. I've always said I feel like the bridge ever since I was little. Just like the bridge in music. So, and ironically, like, I get scared when I go over bridges. Is that not funny? The people who have driven in cars with me, like, when I go over bridges, it scares me to death, because when I used to be able to dream when I was younger, I would have these dreams about, like, just going off of a bridge in a car and drowning in the water. And so I know realistically the probabilities of that are not that great, because I took statistics in college. I took many, many, many statistics classes because I was a business major first. And statistics are supposed to make you feel safer, and for a lot of things they do. But it's like one part of my brain can say, statistically, your chances of that happening are almost nothing. But there's something about that. Maybe it's because I had nightmares or whatever. But I just thought, like, isn't that funny that I get scared going over bridges, but yet that's kind of how I think of myself. It's like I'm a bridge for people. And maybe it's that I'm good at that until, the bridge is rickety, the bridge is sinking, there's too much pressure on the bridge, the bridge needs some reinforcements, the bridge needs brought up out of the water, the bridge needs, something. Um, I don't know if we have them in this country, but I can remember when I was in Korea, like watching them unfold a bridge across, one of the rivers there, and they would like lay down the bridge really fast and then bring it back up. And I guess maybe sometimes that's sometimes how I feel, or maybe that's like a thought that I need to keep in mind, is like bring the bridge back up after it's done. But I know with my job it was, I'm good at being the bridge and connecting people. I'm good at, hearing the things that people don't say, or, you know, um, seeing that if they say they're not in pain, and I know that they are, because they think it's not okay to say that they're not okay. I know that I'm good at that, but a lot of times I don't think I'm good at that with myself until I can't take it anymore. Until, I'm like, I've always said, like, I don't know I'm sick until I'm deathly sick. I don't, a lot of times I would, work through lunch and I'd be like, I don't know if I'm hungry yet. Because I think maybe I had, in order to do all of that, maybe I had developed some sort of disconnect with my body where I couldn't physically feel things because I emotionally felt them all the time. Like maybe my body would shut off. And then I'd be like, I don't know if I'm thirsty. I don't know. A lot of times it's like I don't know if I'm hungry until I smell food. And again, that goes back to, if somebody says, "What are you hungry for?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't like menus that don't have pictures, because then I'm like, well, I can't really visualize it. Do you have a descriptor, a better descriptor? Or, you know, I don't know if that's something with me, but a lot of times it would be like, I don't know, um, I don't know if I'm hungry until I smell food. So I may tell you I'm not hungry, but then once I smell the food, I'm probably going to be hungry. It takes a while to catch up. But I think that's because so much of it was I was stuck in my emotions a lot. And in order to be able to deal with it a lot, my body would just kind of shut off. So anyway, that I just wanted to make a video about, I'm sure there's other people out there that have felt like that a lot, have felt like the bridge. The bridge between relationships, the bridge between people, the bridge between things. And that's where I'd be like, well, I'm not on this side or this side. I'm the bridge trying to connect the two. So I think one thing that I've learned is I can't be the bridge all the time. I can for some a certain amount of time. But then after a while, I'm like, is there a bridge for me, or is there like a buoy around where I could, like, grab on and rest for a little bit? Because sometimes it's too much. You know, even though I love that song, it's a beautiful song. So, anyway, if anybody has any thoughts about that, or, you could relate to it, send a message or something, because, like I said, I don't know if a lot of it has to do with that whole aphantasia and visualization and stuff, or not, because there's just been so many things that me self-reflecting and having so much time now, I guess time where I'm not feeling fatigued and attacked and alone, and don't get me wrong, a lot of times I do feel alone. But then again, also I think, is that because, I like vocalizing things? Is that because, you know, um, I would want someone, to hear somebody's voice or see someone, like another person, because we aren't made to be creatures alone. People are made to connect. So that's something I'm researching. I'm looking into about connecting the dots, because I'm always the person who wants to know why, especially if it causes discomfort. You know, in my life, it's if something's causing me stress or causing me discomfort, just like somebody else, I'm trying to figure out why. Like, why am I sad? Why am I upset? Why am I, tired all the time? Why am I this? One thing that has been helping me is I started looking at my diet and stuff, and I started researching, what herbal remedies, like what herbs, what teas can I find, what supplements can I find, if I have some sort of memory issue, like what things can help with memory. And so I drink a lot more tea, and I take a lot more supplements and stuff, because, like I said, if I forgot to eat, then yeah, 2 days without eating is not good for anybody. But I think part of that was I always felt like I needed somebody else to look after me, like remind me to eat, because I'll probably forget, and so anyway, those are just some thoughts. And if you haven't listened to that song, go listen to it. It's wonderful. And especially if there's like big choir versions of it and stuff, because we used to sing it in choir all the time, and it's just a beautiful song. So anyway, I hope everybody's having a good night. I might make a couple more videos. It's I slept in a little bit today, and then I went to something tonight. I might make a video about that. Um, and it's a topic on homelessness. I'm not gonna let that topic go, and I'm not gonna let that population go, because I feel like everybody needs to be seen and heard. And I think recording these helps me to see and hear myself. And if it ever helps even just one other person, it's worth it to me, because everybody deserves to be seen and heard, and know that they're worthy of being seen and heard. So, hope you guys are having a good night. I'm going to upload this video, maybe make some more. I don't know. Just had another cat hop up, so we'll see. All right. Have a good night. Bye.